In this video, we're going to be doing virtual sound check using tracks live from Waves with our MS-48 and TB-72R from RPM Dynamics. In case you missed it, I did a brief in-depth overview using tracks live, as well as a separate video on how to multi-track record. Let's head over to the console. Now that we're at the console, I'm using the external KVM switch to look at the Mac Mini in my RPM MS-48. So let's click on Waves Tracks Live down here on the bottom. Now the Tracks Live is booted up, I'm going to go ahead and use one of my recordings that I used from a Machine Head tour. That's named Playback Test. So we're going to select it, and then we head up here and hit Open Selected. Now that the session is loaded, we're ready to do our virtual sound check from Waves Tracks Live. We have a couple of different options that we could do. We could start playing back from the beginning, or we can go through and go to specific songs. But if you'll notice, I don't have any markers indicated on this session, so I don't know exactly where I am. Now, I'm going to show you how easy it is to create memory markers inside the session. So I'm going to go ahead and put our playhead right here at the beginning of the song. Now, if I click the plus sign, it's going to add a marker. If I double click on the marker, it allows me to type in a name. So I can call this Davidian Start, and then hit enter. At the end of the song, I could drag the playhead over and once again select the plus sign to drop in another marker. Double click, and we can call this Davidian End. And it's that easy to create markers. Another great thing with the markers, if we do have like a large session like this one where it's nearly 3 hours in length, I have the ability to bring up a markers locations list so that way I can easily navigate around the session and get to exactly where I need to. So let's go ahead and click on that from the View tab. As you see, we have the two marker locations that I just created. We have the ability to lock that so that way we can't prevent the memory markers from moving. We also have the ability to change the color. As you see, the program changes are off because we're not receiving any MIDI information, nor am I sending any, so we don't need to worry about that. For now, the first snapshot automation that I have on the console is for the first song that I have selected. Because I want to work on this song alone, I'm going to go ahead and create a loop playback. So I'm going to highlight the section that I want to work on, and I know that it's this first section here. So if I click here and hold the mouse down and drag over to the right, I'm now creating an area of loop playback. However, if I were to hit play right now, the loop playback function is not going to be enabled because I need to click on the loop playback icon here in the transport bar. So let's engage that. You'll notice that the highlighted area has now changed to blue. If you notice, the playhead is at the beginning of the session. Even though we have a loop section created, if I engage play, it's not going to start within the loop playback. I need to go ahead and put the transport somewhere within the loop playback section. Now, if I hit play, once the playhead hits the end of the section of the loop, it's going to snap back then to the beginning of the recording. So we can go ahead and get the playhead a little bit closer to the beginning of where we want it to start. Now, I'm going to go ahead and hit play to engage the playback. As we see, we got signal on our level meters. So let's switch over to the console now and set the console to receive our tape returns. If you remember in our setup, we went ahead and did all of our inputs as well as all the tape returns for the console. In case you missed that video, I'm just going to go ahead and cover that now. Here in the patching window on the left-hand side, you'll see that we have the 5 AES-50 cards. For my initial recording, I wasn't using all 120 channels, so just the settings that I have on the console now are going to bring me back all the tracks that I have in Waves Tracks Live to my tape returns on the input side of the patching screen. If we go ahead and select on any one of these, we will notice that it's already patched into the tape return section. You might also notice that I'm double busing the kick drum both to channel 1 as well as to channel 85. That's because I have two channels sharing the same input. So on my virtual playback, I want to make sure that I'm getting the signal coming from the same source. If you haven't done any of the patching, if you remember when we did the recording video, you'll see that patching over is ease. Now that we verified that all of our playback is coming back to all the tape returns on the appropriate channels, we need to head over to the Preferences tab. So we could double press on our screen access button down here to engage that. At this point, we need to go ahead and globally select Enable All Tape Returns. And if you notice on the left-hand side, all the gain windows that are there on top of the screen are about to disappear once I engage the tape returns. So let's click on that. You see that all the gains are gone, and now we actually have signal coming back in on the console. So let's double click on the status light to come back to the home window. Here you have the console overview of all the signal inside the console, and you see that I have the show engaged and I have audio passing to the desk. And now I'm ready to do my virtual sound check and make any changes. So now that we're all done with our virtual sound check, we've made all of our changes and we're happy with everything and we're ready to close out Tracks Live, we now need to make sure that we disable all the tape returns so our head amps return back. Again, let's head over to the Preferences tab. By double-clicking on the screen access buttons down here on the bottom, it's going to bring us right into the Preferences tab. Now, we can click on Disable All the Tape Returns, and you'll notice on the left-hand side, the head amps do return back for the channels. Just like that, now we're ready to receive live inputs and start our live show. From here, I'm going to return back to the home screen and now head over to the KVM switch to see my Mac Mini so I can close out a Tracks Live and then create a new session for today's recording. Now we're ready to close out of this session and then create a new recording file for today's show. So I don't want to quit out of Tracks Live, so I'm going to head up to File, click on Close. It's going to ask me if I want to save this. Because I created those memory markers as well as some of the loop playback sections that I might need to come back to, I'm going to go ahead and save. Now that the session is saved, you'll see that the session window is back open for me to either open up an existing one or create a new recording session for today. And just like that, you'll see that Virtual Soundcheck is a quick and easy and very effective tool for us as mixers to be able to make any tweaks to any of the settings that we have on the console without actually having the band present. And they're probably going to love you for that because there's a million other things that they would rather be doing than lengthy sound checks.